Okay, I want you to pay special attention to your textbook page that talks about addictive drugs, or drugs that people become dependent and abuse, in terms of which are legal and which are illegal, and where they fit on the various schedules, right? Under the Controlled Substances Act of 1970, versus the sort of determinations by some of these researchers that have been looking at the influence of some of these drugs in terms of withdrawal severity, the severity of withdrawal symptoms that they produce when you try to stop using these drugs, their reinforcement effects, how likely they are to generate more activity or engagement with, the development of tolerance, for example, how quickly you start to need more of the substance to produce the same sort of behavioral effect. The development of dependence, right? The development of this sort of compulsive use, this persistent use despite significant social consequences, and the intoxicating effects, right, of these substances. You should go through this, but what I want to point out is that the substances that are identified, by federal legislation as dangerous and illegal, right, are not necessarily those substances that have, the worst, withdrawal severity, for example, or have the highest dependence liability. So if we look at this list really briefly, in terms of withdrawal severity, those who become addicted to alcohol, it's the worst of all the drugs. I mean, legal or illegal, and it is a legal substance. In terms of reinforcement effects, it's cocaine, right? In terms of tolerance, it's heroin. These are both illegal substances under the Controlled Substances Act. In terms of dependence, though, in terms of the likelihood that you're going to become hooked on a drug, it's a very legal substance, right? Nicotine is the worst. In terms of intoxication, it's another legal substance, right? It's alcohol. So I just want to say that there's, politics and sort of the evidence, scientific evidence about what effects these drugs actually have don't always mesh, right? And, as the book actually sort of points your attention to, the presence of tobacco leaves carved into, the columns of the U.S. Capitol. So, there are other considerations when these laws are being enacted that deal with drugs.